Well, good afternoon. It is Monday, Mindful Monday, and today we have a wonderful guest, Chandra Green. She is a licensed therapist, and we're just going to jump right on in. So, my name is Marilyn Chappell with Exceeds Expectations, and Chandra, can you just tell us about yourself?
Ooh, what part? Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate this. So my name is Chandra Green. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm looking at. I know you have all my letter alphabet down there, but the MBL is a master in business law as well. I have a private practice called Soul Mind where I do seek clients, and I also am the director of an organization or program called Alive and Thrive, which is with One Night Behavioral Health for now. And then I also work with Black Mastermind. So that's the Black Mastermind group where we help entrepreneurs get their stuff together so that they can be in place to be successful as business owners. So in Wanda County as well. So those are the hats that I wear.
Yes, and you are a busy lady. I see you all over Kansas City. So if you're not doing speaking engagements and facilitating, I'm like, wow, you volunteering places, you're all over. So share with us some of the, things that you do outside of your your day job, right?
Day job. So a lot of the time it's my day job, right?
Yeah.
So then I do, like I said, I see clients. I don't know how I started getting all over the place. That wasn't the plan, but I do things. I'm also the mental health director at my church too. So I've been doing work with churches. So you may see me speak at those type of events to connect mental health and our spirituality and what that looks like. I conferences here and there. I may present at those and do workshops at those things. Work with youth groups. Like currently, I'm helping a summer camp with their youth and with their social emotional learning program that they have with Casey United. So it could be anything, anytime, anywhere. My whole
Yeah.
goal is like I just really want our community to really have awareness on mental health. We talk about working out all the time. We talk about eating right, all this other kind of stuff that we need to do or go to the doctor, but we really tend to ignore what our mental health is and what that looks like. So we'll talk about going to the doctor for everything else, but we'll totally ignore our mental health. So if it brings awareness to that, I'm probably trying to be in the space or diversity, equity, inclusion. I do that kind of work as well in training with agencies and organizations to better be able to serve our community because a lot of times we're in communities, but we don't know the
Yeah.
communities we're in.
Yeah.
And so, and we don't take the time to do that. So it can re-traumatize people if we don't have the right tools to do that.
Yeah.
So you may find me training about that as well. So just different things, different places, different spaces, wherever it fits.
I love it. And I can see why everybody wants you in their room because you are powerful. You have a word for, I would say, any room because you're just that powerful.
Thank
I
you.
love to hear you speak and hear you empower. And I love how you mentioned mental health and how you create awareness around mental health. So mental
Mhm.
health was last month was Mental Health Awareness Month, but
Mhm.
really it should be every month because it's just it's an area where we're not talking enough about and normalizing that it's okay to um, have therapy. And and that's what we call this segment today is therapy, a self-care experience. And so first I want to ask you, how did you come up with your business name Soul Mind?
So I wasn't supposed to be a therapist in my mind. That is not. I was trying to be a cosmetologist out here and some type of business owner and things of that sort. So therapy wasn't it, but I always found myself in spaces where it was how do we heal, like type conversations, and just or people asking me different questions, and all I knew was to be curious. My brother used to always tease me and call me 20Q because I asked a whole lot of questions when I was younger. If it didn't make sense, I needed to get down to the root of a thing and figure it out. Like, why are we talking about this? Why are we doing this? Even church, I was the one to sit in the Sunday school, like, if God said thou shalt not kill, why he have David kill Goliath? Like, and it just turned into like this whole Bible study type thing,
Yeah.
right? So curiosity, I would say, help me learn how to ask questions that help you dig deep, right?
Yeah.
So when I've talked to a couple of people before, while in therapy and before therapy, before I started my business, it was like, why are you always digging into me? That's the question. So I tell people when they come see me, you might not like me, you can be mad at me, I'm okay with that. Just stay in the process.
Yeah.
Because people will be like, I don't like you. You making me think about stuff that's like down deep, and I don't want to go there. But I'm like, sometimes that's where the ick is. That's where the root of a thing is. So it's almost like I'm mining into people's soul is kind of the gift I believe that God has given me. So we called it Soul Mine.
I love it. I love it. And so my next question for you is, what would you consider to be the leading causes of mental health issues today?
Ooh, do we got enough time? Leading cause, I would say generational, because of learned behavior. And at the root of that, I would say racism, white supremacy, things of that sort, because how we think of ourselves, how we interact with each other. I mean, trauma can happen, things can happen, but what's important is your support system. A person that tends to, if I get in an accident, the chances of me healing more with a support system are greater than what my process is by myself. And so I bring that example in to say that our sense of community, our sense of how we handle each other, our sense of relationship and support, all of that, we were taught systemically what that should look like. And it was grounded in a lot of racism. And so it created a lot of separation between minority groups and within our own culture. So when we talk about what the root of it is, I have to go back to, do we even know what our roots are to address that piece of it? And so when it's when the anger pops up and when the frustration pops up with each other, and why can't we live together? Why can't we all just get along? Those type of things. And addressing those barriers, a lot of times it's because the system told us we weren't supposed to be together, or we weren't supposed to be these amazing beings that God created us to be, because we were 3/5 of a person. So learning how to operate as a whole person holistically is not what we were taught, and it's not what we were given. So taking that back to be able to have a source to address actual trauma and actual hurt and actual pain that happens maybe on a daily basis, or things out of our control. If we learn how to love each other, if we learn how to treat each other, abuse wouldn't be the way it is. Divorce wouldn't be the way it is, and a lot of the emotional hurt that we tend to inflict on each other wouldn't be what it is. So
absolutely. And I love how you spoke on, do we even know the root of it, right? I think of, here at Exceeds Expectations, a lot of times when we're doing financial coaching, we kind of touch on that, on why do you manage money the way you do, or what did you see? But that can go in every area of your life. And just like you said, do you know the root? So what would you say? How would you define a trigger?
Trigger is anything that you to have an abnormal, well, not even abnormal, anything that causes you to have a reaction. Now, it could be a positive reaction, it could be a negative reaction, because you can walk into a space, and I do this exercise in one of my trainings called Are You Triggered, actually. And one of the things that I say, the whole idea is I'll say these words, say things, and you don't answer yes or no to them. You answer what your emotion is that comes up for you and what's the thought that comes up for you. And one of them is apple pie. Like, I'll just say apple pie. And somebody else will be like, "Ooh, that sounds good," or "Now I'm hungry," or or happiness, or somebody will say joy because it reminds them of grandma's house, so it triggers those. But then I had somebody in one of my trainings, it invoked fear when I said it, because of the fear. It was always apple pie cooking when they were being abused.
Oh, wow.
So it triggered a different type of emotion and a different type of response in them. But something like that, we think everybody should have, the same reaction to everything, and it's different for everybody because you never know. And I was watching, it's a movie called Why Did I Get Married? I believe is what it's in there. And Jill Scott's character is given an example of the yellow walls. When she sees yellow walls, it reminds her of abuse because her head was knocked against those. So a trigger is anything that evokes a reaction or emotion. So it can be anything. It's whether it's a positive or negative, and have we dealt with the emotions that go with what happened to define how much of a trigger it is.
Yeah. And I think the word therapy has like that negative connotation, when we talk about it, or when someone mentions it, right? And so talk to us on how therapy is more of a self-care, or maybe you have a better word or phrase for that, but how we can normalize that, hey, this is how we heal.
Listen, therapy, especially for people of color, because we've been experimented on, it's like this whole thing, like, I don't want people playing head games with me, right? But if you break your leg, you go to a doctor. You don't go say they playing with my organs, or anything like that. You go where you need to go to get the help. And it's just taboo because we have been experimenting on historically so much. And therapy is for that thing that we know something is off, maybe, but we feel like we should be able to control it.
Yeah.
For some reason, we feel like we should have it together more than what we possibly do. And it's admitting it's admitting that I need help. That kind of shies a lot of us away from that. Because I should be able to deal with my depression. I should be able to deal with my anxiety, or I'm okay the way I am. We talk about, little tink tink, that's just how they are. And then some people even think it's funny, at this point, dysfunction is funny. Dysfunction is entertainment. It's drama. Like, we've become addicted to those things. So when we see those things, it's just like, it's okay, versus saying, wait a minute, this is something that's going to get passed down to the next generation. Is this really okay? Or what is this stopping them from becoming at the expense of your entertainment, or at the expense of you experiencing the drama, instead of saying, hey, this person needs to talk to somebody about it? We'd rather sit in the uncomfortableness of being comfortable versus the comfort of being uncomfortable. So we need to switch how we think about what that looks like, and get comfortable with being uncomfortable so that we can be genuine and our authentic selves. But we just learned to hide behind the hurt, hide behind the pain, keep pushing, because that's what we did. That's what we were taught to do. And everything will be all right. And I say this, it will be all right. You're going to get to where you're going. How you get there makes a difference. You know, you can either get there completely stressed out and too tired to even enjoy where you're going when you get there. Now you need a nap. Now you need, you're irritated and you're frustrated. You don't even like nobody in that space now because you don't like people no more. You don't trust
Yeah.
nobody. So now it's like, why are you even there? Or you can get there happy, healed, and whole and really enjoy the space that is purpose for your life. But yeah, you can get there. It's how you do it. So
I
therapy
love
is a vehicle that helps us work it out. You don't have to be by
Yeah.
yourself. You don't have to do it by yourself. There's somebody who may have a little word, may have a little education in those areas, learn how the brain works and functions to be able to help you kind of talk through some things. And it's not always just because I feel like I'm going quote unquote crazy or losing my
Yeah.
mind. Sometimes the day is just hard.
Yeah.
And I gotta figure out, I need somebody to help me work through this day and,
Yeah.
you know, and organize some things. I'm feeling stretched too many places and my mind isn't as, you know, functioning at the level that I would want it to function at. So it, you know,
Yeah.
don't wait till you're ready to jump off a cliff. You know, talk to somebody when you're
That's
looking at
right.
the cliff. Yeah.
Because every day is not, just a good day, right? I mean,
Right.
and I think we've been told that, hey, and especially if you're a Christian, you've been told that, hey, every day is a good day, every day,
It's
and then
not.
you end up suffering in silence, and so it's okay to give yourself permission to say I need help. Like right now, my day is not good. I need somebody to talk to, and can you share, Chandra, your ways that people can contact you? I want to make sure
So
we know how to contact you and where to contact you before we keep going because it's getting good.
so you can reach me through my website, soulmind. www.soulmind, soulmine.life. Or you can shoot me an email. There's a place on the website where you can do that as well. But you can shoot me an email at chandra@soulmind.life, or you can even call me 913-303-9868.
Awesome. And so, Chandra, you know, it's we see it all the time, you know, um, women bosses, they say bosses, and you
Mhm.
see superwoman, and talk to us about that, and those labels.
Ooh, she's overrated. Whoever the superwoman is, she is so overrated. I want her to go sit down somewhere. Stop stressing us out, you know, making us feel like we got to be something that we don't have to be. This whole superwoman thing, it's really an image that we created, because nobody, when you feel like nobody's there and you feel like you have to do it all. And again, if I really want to be transparent about that, going back to slavery days when they took men away from women, or they made the took the men out of the field, or they tried to break them, and women were only used for birthing, and then they still had to go out into the field and they still had to do things, you know, stuff like that, of how we felt like we had to do everything. So we didn't know how to be a partner, we learned how to take over. And
Yeah.
so in so many ways, we have to sometimes be this superwoman. So and be her. She's overrated. Be her, but take the cape off at some point, and that's the hard part, because somebody with about 3-4 children are looking at me, and single parent and working 2 jobs is looking at me saying, "When does this cape come off? When the
Yeah.
babies go to sleep? Are we
Mm.
building in some self-care time?" And we have to really, really be intentional. But this is why it's important. Sit down with somebody that can help you map out and probably see into your life and into your days something that you may not see, and find that space. And it may be moments. I think we wait for
Mm.
that big, let me take 10, 15 days off, and see what that looks like. But I give the example of, if you take a bottle, a Coke bottle or something like that, and you shake it up,
Yeah.
and you just keep shaking it, and you just keep shaking it, eventually it will bust on you, right? But
Yeah.
if you loosen that top a little bit at a time, if you take it all off, by then it done spread it all everywhere. You done bled all over everybody, went off on everybody, and don't even know why because you're so shook up. But when you learn to like take a little bit off at a time, it's still shook up, but releasing some of that pressure a little bit at a time is better than not releasing the pressure at all. So it's about finding those magical moments where you don't have to be superhuman. But she's overrated. She's just, and then in the midst of that, we don't even give ourselves the permission to feel and to be and to exist and to breathe. Like, when's the last time you took a deep breath? You know?
Yeah. And, I think too, nowadays with social media, always, there's always something that is showing us all the highlights, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rarely do you see, people's challenges or, it's usually when they're always up. And so I think sometimes that competition or, could, seeking or, I wish I had and I don't have, around that.
I think it's very manipulative. We do it to ourselves a lot of times. So limiting that screen time, because then there are some people who want to be truly authentic on there, and then they get ridiculed because then they're sharing too much. And then there are some people that I'm just going to show you, my good side, and then it's like, well, that's not real. So you can't win either way. Right.
Yeah.
And understand if you can't win either way, then the other person that you're watching can't win either way as well. So finding the balance within yourself and learning to be happy right where I am and how I show up. That's an important journey. The journey to know yourself is probably the hardest journey you're ever going to go on. To learn to know and love and appreciate who you are and to be able to stand authentically in that, no matter what other people bring in, no matter what other people say or see. That's the magical piece, I guess you want to call it or whatever. So, but social media will make you think that you have nothing together and you out here tearing the world up, just doing your thing. But social media be like, that's not enough. You need to do this and you need to do that. You need to go travel to, unknown places. And you like, I am good to go across the border. Like, let me go
trying to do all the things.
Yeah. And you don't have to do all of that. It's nice. It's great. And it's wonderful. But being able to appreciate where you are in life and
that's right.
And what the purpose God has for you, and who you are to reach and do, that makes a total difference.
I love it. I love it. Now, is there a difference between mental health and mental illness?
So mental illness is what I believe a lot of people are afraid of. And it's all in terminology. So it's journeyed through, like, it was first mental illness. Then it became mental health. Then it's mental wellness. Like, and the whole thing is, how do we say it without the stigma? Because when it was first introduced, it was mental illness. And that's because mental illness really wasn't a focal point until way back in the days. Sigmund Freud, schizophrenia, and actually mothers were blamed for schizophrenia, right? And like, that's just where it came from in their minds and in the research that they came up with, which we now know that's not exactly, what happened. But no, it's the same. It's the terminology that we use, because all of it has to do with where are you mentally, right? When we talk about our physical health, yes, sometimes you have an illness or some things that need to happen, but then it's just your health in general, right? So there are some things mentally that are illnesses, that are chemical imbalances, that are things that we may need medicine for, or we may need to be hospitalized for whatever period of time to nurse us back to wellness. But it all goes together.
And so do you think that therapy can be a prerequisite or a self-care tool to get around from taking medication or prescriptions?
So I'm a witness to this because I was diagnosed years and years back with cyclical depression. So I could go in and out of the cycles. And I was experiencing a lot of death around that time when my father died, my grandparents died, all those things. And the school I was at was like, in order for you to keep a scholarship, you got to go to therapy, right? And so I ended up on medication, but what therapy helped me do, so the medication helped level me out enough for therapy for me to talk about things and to get things out and start dealing with therapy. So then I was able to wean off the medicine at some point because now I have tools in place to help that. So it was kind of like a stabilizer. So I'm not saying that that's everybody's story. Or it will be everybody's story, but I will say that they can go hand in hand. They can help. Everybody don't need medicine. Medicine is not always my go-to because I personally don't prescribe medicine. I may tell you to talk to your doctor about it, but it's not always my go-to. Sometimes especially like with trauma and stuff, it's all because nobody ever sat you down and asked you what's going on. Right. Or asked you, how are you doing or why? And so sometimes getting that stuff up and out and talking through that stuff can help with a whole lot. And we don't realize that when things are playing around in your mind, trauma literally changes the shape of our brain and how we think and how our neurons fire off. So we create safety spaces. So when we talk about boundaries versus walls and different things like that, it's happened because something has happened to us. So now it's shaped the way we think, meaning that there's been a change in our brain function, right? So if we are to go through a whole healing process to start dealing with that, then we have the tools to kind of start bringing those walls down and learn how to create boundaries instead.
Yeah, so that's good.
It's all about the process.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. That's why we call this segment Therapy a Self-Care Experience, because an experience is something or a process that is over time, right? Something that you feel, that you go through over time. I love the word process, because a lot of times we want something. The moment that we make up our mind what we want, we want it overnight. We want the result overnight. And so I love that you are saying that you continue to say it's an experience. I love that you're saying that it's a process, because it is. It definitely is. And
I get people that come in and they want to be okay the next day. I'm like, I don't even really know you. Like, I got to take a time to know you before I can even give a diagnosis. So we're not even hitting therapy to like the third, fourth session. Actually, I mean, but I could give you a false response if you want to start, having you do things that have nothing to do with what's going on with you. Because you may come in for anger issues and really realize it's because of something else that's been going on in your life. So
and I think sometimes even that's rooted from when you were younger, hearing your parents say, hey, what happens in the house stays in the house. You don't talk about this, you don't talk about that. And so you get older and you go into your adult life thinking that you got to be mute about what's going on with you, right? And so maybe that is one of the reasons why people don't want to go to therapy, or they don't want to share and ask for help.
Yeah, we've been trying that way.
Yeah. All right. So next question, because I know that you have a book and I really want to make sure our viewers know about your book. Can you share more about it?
Okay, so like you said, last month was Mental Health Month, and it was also my birthday. So I'm born in Mental Health Month. What a coincidence is that? So on my birthday, I did a book release, but it's really a guided journal, and it's called the Journey to Healing Journal. This is what it is. So it's guided because you actually write the book. I'll just give you some things to think about as you're writing. And it basically, you'll create what it asks you to do in the beginning. There's a video that tells you how to use it on my website. And it's a QR code in the book that tells you how to do it. But there's a little resource page. And then it also has you build like a mental health safety plan. So you can kind of walk through some things, and then deals with you in different parts of your life, like your identity, your celebrations, your how you process things and different trauma like that. So it's interesting. It's an interesting flow.
Yeah. So you guys go to soulmind.live. Her book is right there. And
Mhm.
then also, do you work with more um, children, adults, or families? I know you.
I work. Sorry, my work phone is going off. I don't know if you can hear, but we'll let it play. Um, but I work with more likely young adults, families, couples, things of that sort. I do work with children on occasion, but I prefer to do the young adults on up, and you know, and that sort. So.
Awesome. Well, Chandra, thank you so much for your time on today. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge and creating the awareness for us all. And before we go, just give us an empowering word for this week to get us through this
An
week.
empowering word for this week. I didn't know we was gonna have to do that. Let me see. Let me say process is purpose. So don't negate the process that you're going through right now, because it has a reason in your life. If you're meant to reach a certain audience, and 9 times out of 10 what you're going through has to deal with the audience that you're meant to reach. So you're not supposed to give up. You can't give up. You got to go through it because it's part of your purpose. So hang in there. You'll be all right.
Thank you so much, Chandra. Well, there you have it. It's Mindful Monday. And wow, share this with your family and friends. And I know you'll be blessed. You guys have an amazing week.
Thank you so much. Sorry about the music in the background. My phone is
That's
on the other
okay.
side of the room. But thank y'all so much. I appreciate it, man. This was a great opportunity.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.